You ever wake up and realize the world's about to flip upside down like the quiet you counted on was really just the silence before a storm? That's what it was like for me out in rural Georgia, where most folks figure nothing bad ever happens, where the only thing that breaks the morning is the sound of a tractor in the fields. But I learned the hard way that evil can roll in quiet, wearing a neighbor's face or riding the night like a ghost. They came for me thinking I was alone, that all I had were old bones and fading memories. But they didn't know the war still lived in my veins, that the land I plowed was fed by more than Rhine. It was history and blood and a promise I made long ago to never run again. You know what I mean? Yeah, that happened. I'm Marcus Owens, and that morning started like 1,000 others. Alarm at 4:30, muscle memory from 20 years in the Navy SEALs snapping me upright before the sun even bothered to show. I lay there in the gray quiet, listening for something off, just the way I always do, and then I moved slow but sure, joints creaking like old barn doors, pulling on my work clothes, boots, and the faded blue shirt I wore out of habit. Coffee brewed in the kitchen, filling the house with something like hope, and for a second, I let myself believe today might be just another day. The air outside was thick with dew and the smell of hay from a next field. The porch steps still damp under my boots. I thought about how different this life was from all the chaos I left behind, how this patch of Georgia earth was supposed to be my sanctuary, my piece of peace after everything. I fed the chickens, counted every head, checked the cattle. Routine, right? But you know how sometimes, out the corner of your eye, you spot something that doesn't belong, tire tracks by the fence that shouldn't be there, cigarette but scattered in the dirt that don't match your brand. That's when the old instincts kicked in. I walked the perimeter, saw where the grass was flattened, felt eyes on me. I couldn't see. Something was brewing. I could taste it. Years in combat teach you when trouble's coming. And that day, it felt like trouble had a map with my name on it. By late afternoon, the fields were golden and heavy with heat. Sweat stung my eyes as I fixed the fence, still thinking about those tracks. Sun sliding low, I headed back to the house for dinner, nerves wound tight, senses straining at every sound. That's when the first engine roared down my road. Then another, and another. The kind of rumble that means nobody's coming to sell you insurance. I killed the lights, moved to the window, watched as 3 pickups rolled in, lights blazing, men piling out, torches and guns in hand. Not random, not scared, organized. They spread out like they'd practiced it, like this was a mission. Through the glass, I saw hate in their eyes, watched them split between my barn and house. I moved quiet, heart steady, every step a calculation. When a bottle smashed through my window and fire bloomed in my kitchen, I knew this was no warning, this was a message. Burn it all down, someone yelled. Show him what happens when he doesn't know his place, and I swear, the rage I felt could have burned him down right then and there. 20 yards to the barn. Moving in darkness, breath slow, body low. Shots rang out, glass exploded. I made it to the old side door, ducked in the barn, grabbed the waterproof case, the one with my M4 in armor, the one I prayed I'd never need again. 2 men came in, flashlights cutting through the dark, boots on hay. They weren't pros, too loud, too cocky. I dropped the first from behind, quick and silent, then crashed into the second before he could aim, ending it fast. They'd separated, made themselves weak. Out in the yard, more trucks pulled up. I counted 15, maybe more, all masked, all armed. They started killing my cattle, painting slurs on the barn. If you've never seen your whole life get set on fire by strangers, you don't know what helpless feels like. But I wasn't alone, not really. Gunfire erupted from the tree line, a sound I knew as well as my own heartbeat. That was tire-sealed friend, old seal, older than trouble and twice as stubborn. His M249 sang like Judgment Day. The attackers panicked, scattered, and I dropped 2 as they tried to flank him. One of their rounds caught me in the shoulder, burned like hell, but nothing fatal. Tyrese ran through the chaos, called out, "You sure know how to throw a party?" I just grinned, blood soaking my shirt, adrenaline keeping me on my feet. We held out together until they finally broke, engines screaming as they fled into the dark. We surveyed the wreckage, barn burning, animals slaughtered, racial hate scrawled across everything I owned. I asked Tyrese how he knew, and he just said, "Been watching these fools. Knew they'd try something. Didn't expect this." I could see in his eyes that he blamed himself a little, but that's just how we're built. Dawn brought the Sheriff Curtis Dade, smug, slow, walking like nothing happened. He looked around, all fake concern, talking about trespassing and vandalism, asking if maybe this was a property dispute, telling us not to make it about race. Tyrese nearly lost it, but I held him back. Could see Dade wasn't going to help. He left with a warning about selling the place, and buyers lined up, and I swear the hatred in that man's smile was colder than the morning air. We bandaged my wound. Then I made a call I'd hoped never to make. Sarah Adams, our old team leader, along with Bobby Tran and Ezekiel Brooks. Within hours, they were on my porch, no questions, just action. We set up laptops, surveillance, mapped out the threat. Bobby found intel on a local group called Sons of Purity, led by Wyatt Cole, white supremacists who'd been hitting minority-owned farms. But this was different, too organized, too well-funded. We found a pattern, traced vehicles to a warehouse off Route 16. That's when we realized the attack on me was just part of something bigger, maybe something with military hands pulling the strings. We went in that night, moving like we used Tozalant, efficient, every corner of memory. Neutralized the guards, swept the warehouse, found Cole running things from his office. Pulled him out, pushed for answers. That's when the twist Hythe confessed someone else was paying them. Someone who knew me, wanted it personal. A name, Commander Alan Briggs. My old mentor. Dead 8 years, or so I thought. Turns out Briggs survived Columbia, and he blamed me for losing everything: his family, his life. He'd spent years building a network, hiding behind hate groups, funding attacks, all to destroy me and anyone like me. He sent a message, taunting us, threatening my friends and their families if I didn't face him alone. You ever feel the ground shift under you? That's how it felt, realizing the war you thought you left behind just followed you home, wearing a new face. When Tyrese was kidnapped, everything snapped into focus. We tracked Briggs to an abandoned industrial complex, fought our way through mercenaries, explosions shaking the ground, gunfire echoing through empty halls. Rescued Tyrese, barely alive, then watched as Briggs burned my farm to the ground, everything I'd built, gone in a matter of minutes. He sent another message: meet him at our old training ground, alone, or more families would suffer. My team wanted to come, but some debts you have to pay alone. I walked into that compound at dusk, memories crowding every step, every shadow a reminder of the man I used to be. Briggs waited, angry and broken, his grief twisted into something cruel. We fought, brutal and raw, years of pain spilling out in every blow. But in the end, I pinned him, didn't kill him, though I wanted to. Made him confess everything, captured it on video, turned it over to the feds. Sheriff Dade got hauled out in cuffs, his corruption finally exposed. Briggs went to jail, not the hero's death he craved, but real justice, messy, public, undeniable. But you want the real twist? It wasn't the fight that saved us. It was what came after. My friends, my neighbors, black, white, Latino, Asian, folks from every walk came together. The church, the hardware store, the community center, they showed up not just to rebuild my farm, but to rebuild trust, to stand together against the hatred that tried to tear us apart. We formed the Red Clay Initiative, a foundation to help veterans and minority farmers. First project, helping another farmer down in Miller County, because change only happens when we make it happen together. So yeah, maybe I lost a house, maybe I got scars you can't see, but I gained something you can't burn down: a community that fights for each other, a legacy worth passing on. And Briggs? He sits in a cell, knowing he didn't break me. The land he tried to poison with hate is now a symbol of hope. That's how you win, right? Not just by fighting back, but by building something better from the ashes. What about you? What would you have done? Where do you draw the line between justice and revenge? And what does community look like where you live? Let's talk about it down below. And if this story made you feel something, anger, hope, maybe even a little faith in people, share it, comment, and stick around for the next one. Because out here, stories like this aren't over, just getting started.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video.
Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to.
Yeah, they're